I am 4 Glass. So glad y'all wanted to come and hear my story. So nice of you. I've been waiting a long time to tell my story, you know. And I'm so glad you want to hear about it. It makes me mighty happy.
We didn't have fences. Our yard I lived on 832 Vine Street. They call it the Beltline. The railroad train would go down past us. It was like a little 5-room house, but it didn't have like indoor toilet. It had one that would be connected to the city, but it would be like outside. And then like we didn't have like gas stoves. The only gas stove we had was to cook on. They had like a one of those gas tank that they would hook to the kitchen stove. But I grew up with potbelly stoves, you know, coal stoves. And we had like 2, and it kind of supposed to kept the whole house warm. We had like 4, well, we had three stoves. And my dad, I can remember, you know, being a child, my dad, he worked in construction, and he didn't work all the time in the winter time. So whatever he did during the summer, he had put money back to make ends meet during the winter time. He'd buy the coal, and he'd get up in the middle of the night and keep the fire going while we would try to sleep. And it wasn't always warm, but you know, we had blankets and stuff. I am a middle child of 9 kids. I'm the 5th child either way. And so I have other brothers and sisters, and it was a big family, just a big family, and my mother and father. The house we lived in, people used to kind of make fun of us because we kind of had the regular house almost in the block. Everybody kind of around us kind of had indoor plumbing or added to it, and so they used to make fun of us. They used to hate it when people would come and visit with us and ask where the bathroom was. That was one of the most embarrassing things. And I tried, like, you gotta go, and you know, I said, well, it's outside, and stuff like that. So that was kind of, and to me at that time, embarrassing. But today, I feel like it made me a better person because I know where I've been and I know where I'm at now. Not that feel I'm rich or anything, but I'm truly blessed, and that's what has been really good. Our yards used to all kind of meet, you know. It was like our house was on the side of an alley, all the way down to the back of the alley. There was a little shack back there, a 1-room shack, and my uncle lived there, Maurice. It didn't have a stove or anything. It was just one little room, and when it get cold in the winter time, of course, he'd come stay with us and stuff. And then everybody's neighbors' yard meet along that. So I had a lot of people that we just crossed the alley. We're in somebody else's yard because they was long yards and stuff. And as kids, we played games like Red Rover, Giant Step, and we had slingshots. My brothers made little scooters, you know, to play. We climbed trees and jumped off of coal shacks and stuff like that. It was like clean fun, you know. We didn't have all the technology that people have now today. So it was kind of interesting, yeah, hide and ball and stuff like that. But the nice part about where I lived, though, almost everybody around us had like some type of fruit that they would grow. My Miss Brooks would grow. She had grapes and she had peaches, and the man, Mr. Gilbert, he had pears, and the other lady had apples, and the people on the end of the corners, they had plums. So we never was without fruit. A lot of them would let us get some, and a few times as we go by, they didn't mind too much, and had always had fruit. So we was healthy that way and stuff. And then so that was the biggest thing. I had an older sister, and Then I got a couple of younger sisters who's younger than I am, and then I have like 3 older brothers, and then I got 2 of them younger than I am. So we kind of grew up like that. When I was younger, I had rheumatic fever, so about 7 years old. So I couldn't play as much. Mama felt like I shouldn't go swimming and stuff like that, and all this kind of stuff. But I run. She said, it's bad on your heart. And I'd have a little slight murmur, but over the years, it really hadn't affected me for the most part. So I was grateful and blessed with that, and stuff. And so I didn't get to always do everything my other brothers and sisters did. But they said I was spoiled, but I wasn't. Because when they would get whoopings, like I'm the 5th child. If they get a whooping, I know not to do that. I don't like whoopings. I don't even like people to just even talk to me real loud. I cry, So I told myself I wasn't spoiled. I said, I just wasn't as bad as y'all was. But I remember, and so we grew up in the neighborhood like that. And when I went to school, I went to Abbott Street School.
Okay.
Starting out. And we had to walk to school. There wasn't any buses and stuff like that. You walk, and the thing was, you'd walk to school and you also walk back home for lunch, or run back home for lunch, or they give you a little bag. But most of the time, we would come back home. Abbott Street was like, we was on Vine, and Abbott Street was like 2.5 blocks over. So we run home for lunch and stuff like that. And I like that, because we had those slides and stuff. And when I got in like the 5th grade, passed to the 5th grade, that's when we had to, was no longer segregated. We became, like, I went to South Heights. When I first went, I didn't like it. I wanted to go back to Abbott Street because they called us names and told us to go back where we came from and stuff. So it's kind of rough there for a while, because that was the first year that we integrated, my year. My other brothers and sisters, they managed to get through Abbott Street, and my oldest sister got through Douglas, and of course I didn't quite make it all the way through and stuff. And but then, after that I went to City High. I didn't get to make it to Douglas. Well, Baird first, and then I went to City High. So the thing that I knew, though, growing up, is that my feel was that I wanted to be able to help other people. Although I had a lot of brothers, that was my thing. And I wanted to do something where I was helping people. I looked at maybe like airline stewardess, but at that time you had to have 20/20 vision, they said. And I knew I couldn't be a teacher because I have a little lips when I talk sometimes. And so I didn't do that. But I decided I wanted to be a nurse, So I went back to, after I graduated from high school, like I said, my dad didn't have a lot of money and stuff to really send me away to college with 9 kids. And they had this program from the Owensboro Licensed Practical School that they gave them a grant that they would send people to school. But it was held here, most of the classes was held here at the old hospital, old part of the hospital. So I took classes there, and they paid you like a little bit of money to go. And of course I took part of mine to give my dad, like he didn't, you pay like rent, but it wasn't like rent. It was just trying to teach you responsibility. And at first I was kind of mad, upset about that too. Like, nobody, all the rest of them here, nobody's paying money, but it teaches you a value of being responsible, no matter what, and stuff like that. And so I was glad for that later in life for sure. And then I also, later, after I went to work at the hospital, I worked there, and I graduated from LPN school. I graduated from high school in 72. I graduated from LPN school in 74. And there was a nurse there and I worked there about 2 or 3 years, and there was a nurse there who encouraged me to go back to school to get my RN. She said, you can make a good RN. And so I did do that. And well, first I didn't want to because it's more responsibility. And so, but I did. And, I'm glad I did. I haven't furthered my education at this time because each year I keep saying I'm older, what I'm going to do different. But I in a way, kind of wished I did, but I'm kind of now wishing I majored in something else also. It's throughout the years working, sometimes it can be a little harder. And I'm not saying to be for black people, women of color, or whatever. You really kind of tell to a degree you're treated a little different. Yeah, and it's still at Methodist Hospital. When I was the LPN, I'd be working. I'm thinking I'm doing real good, and then you find out that people are saying you're not doing this and you're not doing that, and you get to speak right up on your evaluation, and like you didn't do this and you didn't do that. I'm like, well, that's not so, or else you would have. I one time was in charge, and I had a nurse. I was in charge, and I had this LPN that came back and told my boss that I just left the patient back there with nobody, and they believed her as over me. They never asked me what happened or what went on, but they called me down to the office, and they said, this day, da-da-da, this happened, and da-da-da, you didn't do this, and you left the LPN, you left the patient's room, and you didn't call the doctor, and all. And I said, nobody asked me what happened. I said, that is not true. I did not leave the patient alone. So it was sort of like, I was on probation almost for, 3 months because of it. Only because it wasn't asked me what exactly happened. Then I had to write an appeal and state what had happened, what I did. And that was what I had. And so when they put it into my record, I asked them also put my side in there because I wanted to reflect what really happened. So yeah, it's. But I'm an even manner person. I try to get along with everybody. I don't like to start no trouble. I just want to do a good job, do my nursing job, and do it right and take care of my patients. That's what I'm about.
So was that incident resolved in your favor, or?
Well, the next time, I guess I would say so in the end because the next time I got an evaluation, it was very good.
Okay, great.
Because on that part, yeah. But that one was. It's hard,
Right, I understand.
in this field. Then you're trying to do the right thing, even at the work job I have now. It's
Have you worked at any other hospitals besides?
I worked at Methodist Hospital. I worked at Community Methodist Hospital for like 25 years. And I worked at, I did Partners Home Health for a while, for like 6 months.
Okay.
And then I went back to the hospital, so I kept my, seniority if you go back before a year. And then after about 25 years, when I didn't get my vacation and I had more seniority than everybody else, and everybody else was getting theirs, I decided that everybody was working the same shifts and stuff now. There was no more straight days and stuff. I decided that if I'm going to be doing everything to everybody else and I'm not getting my vacation, I got more seniority than anybody else. I might as well start someplace else doing something different. And so I left and I went to dialysis. Now it's to be the dialysis, but I went to the dialysis unit clinic and worked there. But it's still, sometimes it's problem.
So, tell us a little bit about Mrs. Robinson, because I know your mother.
Mother?
Yeah. Now, was she a stay-at-home mom, or did she work outside of the home?
No, she didn't. Not that I ever remember.
Okay.
You know, she stayed at home and she cooked and you know washed the clothes. And then when we got up to age, you know, she taught us how to wash clothes and cooked and stuff like that. But no, she's a very religious mom. She would go to church. She dragged us down to church. She dragged us to Sunday school, and because the church really also was right up the street from where we lived, also on the other corner. They did a New Jerusalem Baptist Church, so that's the one I go to. And been there for years. So no, she didn't. And she was a quiet woman. You know, people say, I don't really remember your mom much. But she didn't do a whole lot of talking or anything for the most part, you know, to us, you know. But she was really quiet and meek, for the most part, mild woman. But she didn't need to work outside the house. She hadn't had kids. That's a job with this.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a big job.
Yeah, that is a big job.
When you were at Alvis School, you remember some of your teachers? Did you have Annette Brown?
I had Miss Annette Brown, yes, and I loved her. She'd take you out to the parks and tell you about all the trees, and she knew all the names of the trees. She knew the maples, the leaves on the trees. She would do poems, and she would give us a poem every month that we was in class, you know, and we had to learn the poem and stuff like that. Oh, I loved her. She's a great poet, you know. And then I had Miss Gardner. Miss Gardner was absolutely wonderful. She was, you know, she's a third grade teacher. She took time with you. As a matter of fact, if it wasn't for her, I would have probably had to been put back a year because I missed almost 6 months of schooling when I had rheumatic fever and was in the hospital. So she, you know, they said, well, we'll try you in third grade, see how you do and stuff. And she helped me and I did real well. So I remember her. I remember Miss Waters. Miss Waters is a little bit more sterner than the rest of them, but you know.
We've heard a little bit about Mrs. Waters.
Yeah, she'd take that ruler and put your hands in the middle of your hand and stuff. Oh, I couldn't wait to get out of that class. But I would.
For this nursing school.
I went to Owensboro Licensed Practical School first. And then I went out on the hill, Henderson Community College, and got my associate degree in nursing there. But I haven't been, like I said, further to do any more. I took a couple of classes, like statistics and stuff, but I didn't finish on. So, and I have daughters, though, very well educated.
Yeah, tell us about your daughters.
Okay. My oldest daughter is Swahili name is Amanika Baker, Michelle Baker. Of course, she's a Carter now. She's married, and she's married, and she married a guy with 2 kids, and they have one together. So I have a 6-year-old grandson, then a little 13-year-old, and then the other one's like 20-some years old. And she lives in Cincinnati. Matter of fact, she went away to Lexington to school, and she met a guy, and he lived in Cincinnati, so that's how she ended up in Cincinnati. But that's not the guy she ended up marrying. She married another guy. And so then, since she left school, she thought her credits would transfer there, and not all her credit transferred, so she didn't finish at first when she went back there, but I encouraged her to go back. I said, Dominic, I see you put up all these many years and you got all these credit. I see you need to finish your schooling, you know. And so she did. So she has, she not only got she got a bachelor degree.
Oh.
Yeah, she did.
In what in?
I'm thinking it's in human resource, maybe business major. I'm not exactly sure which one she went for. And then I have another daughter named Erica Baker, and she's went to school in Louisville. And she also has her bachelor degree, and hers is I know hers is kind of like in human resources, but she works for the VA hospital right now in Louisville. Not in the hospital itself, but in the like a business office. Well, she was in the hospital, but she does the business, where she tries to make sure they're provided with services, that their needs are met. She, well, really, she's done real well at her job. That they, when they needed some help down in Memphis, Tennessee, in the VA hospital down there, her supervisor suggested and asked them if they would like for her to come down there and help them get their things straightened out down there. Yeah, so right now she's down there, but she's going to go back to Louisville. Yeah. Yeah, the crime rate's not as bad and stuff, and she's got a lot of friends there. And her supervisor really said they'll get behind. They would love to have her back, so she's going to go back there. So that's a plus for her. So they've done real well. I'm proud of them.
So who inspired you the most? I mean, who pushed you?
Well, I was sort of inspired by 9 kids in a family.
Okay. That's good inspiration.
Yeah, and then because my mother didn't work and my daddy's the only one worked, I thought, if I had 9 kids and I didn't have a job and something would happen to my husband or we didn't make, I wanted some type of education or something to fall back on, I really, so that kind of inspired me for sure to do that. And I don't know, I just like I said, I just like taking care of people in general. So, and I wanted to do something, and I knew I wanted to be independent, out on my own, find a job, not only that you probably could find a job anywhere too, like if you want to go to another town or state or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And I tell you, the person that, if you want to say it probably inspired me most was Mrs. Vallett Brooks. When I was a kid and I had rheumatic fever in the hospital, she wasn't a nurse, she was a unit secretary. She's the one of them, our yard would meet her backyard, the one that had the prayers. Well, she was unit secretary at nighttime, and she worked at the hospital on the night shift. And when I was in the hospital, they had me in this croup tent, like this tent on top of my head to blow out the air and humidifier and stuff. And she would come in there and check on me at nighttime to see how I was doing and stuff. And I really liked that. She always checked on me. So that inspired me to want to. And she was always good about trying to help people and do. Her and my mom was the best friends. So that really.
She was in the nursing end of it too. So.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, she was. She was really good.
So you ran into a pretty bad case of prejudice there at the hospital right off the bat.
Right.
And that carried through the whole time, didn't it?
Yeah, well, it was enough that I decided I might as well start over, especially when, if you're not going to, if your seniority don't mean anything, you've been there 25 years, on vacation, and you put it back in way when you're supposed to, and you don't get it, and then you get people that come in off the street and they get it before you do, not off the street, but been there less time than you have. And I think when that happened to me, I cried because I wasn't expecting it. You're working really hard to do the best you can do and take care of your patients. You're not expecting people to write bad things about you or say bad things about you. Your business is about trying to take care of people and to help, people that's working with you. You're not trying to do any harm to anybody or anything. You're dependable. You're there every day. You're trying to do the right thing, and then people write stuff like that, that hurts your feelings. I mean, it really hurts.
Yeah.
You're not trying to do that. Come on. And yeah, okay. And this what? So I don't know. It's just.
You see it still in public? You still see?
Yes,
All
I
the
had to
time.
say. Yes, I still, out in the public, I have, even where I work at, I have certain patients who won't let me put them on. I do hemodialysis, where you put the needles in and stuff, and I have certain patients that I've stuck before, and they, I don't want you to stick me anymore. I don't, want you to put me on, and And then they'll come in and says, can you get, what's the name to put me on? I don't want you to, yes, I still stay. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
I just don't guess it's ever going to end.
So did you get a lot of that when you first started at the hospital on the other end?
At the hospital, you probably didn't see it quite as much because they didn't know who was coming into the room. You know, you come in there and you're taking care of them and stuff like that. So they wouldn't tell me as much, you know, the family or the patient not to come back in there because their family's real sick. And not that these people are not, but, you know, they don't actually know. It wasn't so much the family that at the hospital that you saw as much. It was the people you work with. Yeah, the people you work with. They might not want me, but they, like I said, they at the time they didn't know who's actually going to come in the room and take care of them and give them pain medicine. You know, you're trying to make comfort measures so you don't have as much conflict there. You know, they don't tell you get out. I don't want to give them a bath or nothing like that, but it's the people you work with.
So how was it working with the doctors? Was it?
The doctors are, well, we have a few doctors, but they're just kind of hateful to everybody per se. It wasn't so much that they were prejudiced towards me, I don't think, you know.
They hate all nurses.
Yeah, they wanted, they want to know why this wasn't done, why it wasn't done yesterday, you know, stuff like that. So the doctors wasn't as bad.
Okay.
Yeah, the doctors wasn't as bad. So. Or if they are out, they didn't show it like that, you know. They just want to make sure the order's taken off. Why wasn't this done? Why wasn't that done? Stuff like that. So I didn't have as much problem with them.
What could you tell a young person today about going into the nurse field?
Well, what I feel that education of any kind is very, very important today. I mean, further than high school. I mean, you know, or even if you did a trade school, anything is more beneficial than just your diploma. I would advise, and I had to instill in my kids too, that try to make your grades, you know, good grades early. Don't wait till you last 3 years in high school and say, well, I made A's and B's. You need, because what happens in the younger years, like in even grade school too, but definitely in junior high and stuff, those grades are very important because they look at those all through the years when you get ready to apply for college. You may think it's just what you just came out with. And so apply yourself early and know that, you know, go to school, have fun, but also stay in the books and try to continue your education and keep your grades up. It's very important because you fall behind so quickly and don't realize and it also helps you to feel, you know, you don't become just like everyday people. I mean, I'm not saying that to be I'm not saying that just to be saying like, well, you don't amount to anything just because you have a diploma. But there is something about when you get an education further than a diploma, it sets you apart. And not that you think you're so much smarter, better than anybody, but it opens up doors for you to be able to go more places and to do more things. You know, I mean, you would be surprised, like, because I'm RN, I'm not saying I make great big bucks, but I, you know, make more than minimum wage. You might know that. So it allows you to broaden your horizon. You can go places and take trips and do things that you wouldn't normally be able to do with just $10 and paying your lights and keeping your lights on, you know. So that's very important, and to be independent and to have nicer things in life and to do things. It's really, I mean, it's just something about it. It's just something about it.
You would encourage people to be educated.
Definitely.
Did you ever meet Thelma Johnson?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I forgot to tell you. Yeah, she was my home ec teacher. She taught me how to make my first apron.
How did that turn out?
It turned out good.
Okay.
It really did. I was really surprised. You know, I put the little binder on and everything. It had pockets on it. Oh, yeah.
Do you still have it?
Huh?
Do you still have
No,
it?
I wish I did though. I really do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make another one.
Oh no, there's something about her helping me with that first apron. Just something about that. Yeah. Yeah, she was, and then she had like little home ec classes that you teach how to fix different things. You know, you go up for her and stuff. But the thing I remember most, her helping me make my apron. I learned how to sew. That was the good experience. When I first started in New Jerusalem, of course I went there all my life.
Right.
It was Reverend T.L. Adams.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was there. He was a minister who would come all the way from Louisville.
We
Yeah.
got an article about him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'd come always from Louisville on the weekend, every weekend, to be our pastor. And one of the most amazing things too about him is that he not only just pastored our church, like when he would walk down the street, down Dixon Street, used to be Martin Luther King now, he would try to minister to the people who was playing dice and stuff.
Yeah.
And stuff. So I mean, he did this for years and years. He'd come down there every weekend and pastor and take the bus and then take the bus back. So he was really an inspiration to do that. I mean, you know, that was something. You know, he gave up his time, those year after year after year, to do that. He visit the sick, go to the hospital. I mean, he was really, he was really good pastor. And the thing is, he would also teach you, like, we'd have like Bible study and stuff like that, and BTU, and he'd have this little game he played where he teaches the books of the Bible. I can't say I remember him now, every book in the Bible, but he like he's throwing a baseball to you, and you're supposed to know it, and if you don't know it, you get striked out and stuff. It was really fun. He taught us a lot. And that was good.
So has it been an enjoyable life growing up in Henderson, living in Henderson?
The thing I like about, the thing I like is because I've gotten to see kind of like two sides of it. You know, like growing up and the cold stoves and stuff, and then to see the other side. But some kids never even know that exists, cold stoves and not a thermostat on the wall and that kind of stuff. So so it's made me really appreciate where I've been and where I am. But it also, my faith in Christ, that no matter what you're going through, if you depend on Him to help you through whatever you're going through, it'll be all right. It's going to be all right. So that's, and Henderson's a small enough town that you know quite a few people if you want to, and then it's kind of quiet, not as much violence and stuff like that. But I like to take trips and get out too. I like to travel. But Henderson's a nice place to live, considering. When I worked at the hospital, though, I now have to admit, I had good experience at the hospital as far as like the different units I worked on. I didn't just work, now I was trying to find my niche there. And I probably had one, but I got moving. I started on the medical floor, and then I went to, after I got my RN license, I went to the psych unit. And then that was kind of interesting because we had this little secluded room where we put people who get out of control. We put them in there. And when we call for some, backup for the orderlies to help us and stuff when they try and turp Jack and stuff like that. And so we had that. But when they first set up the unit was designed in the older part of the hospital, and there was a hallway, and then you turn right and you could go out the back door. It didn't lock from the inside, but it locked from the outside. In case, I guess, in fire and stuff, the way the old hospital was designed. And there was another door that was shut before you go through, and then the other door, what you just push and you go out. Well, I worked on that unit with Barbara Powers. Now, she was one of my best white friends. You know, she best friend, period. Not just because she's white. But we had some times over there. but we'd have patients that we'd be looking for them, and they would have went out the back door and down the driveway, down on 12th Street. So where'd they go? So we had to send somebody down there to go get them and bring them back. They done wandered out. Those wasn't the bad patients. They were just somebody who kind of got forgetful. And forgetful.
Touch it.
Yeah.
Alzheimer's.
Forgot where they was going. But yeah. So I worked there. I worked on the psych unit. I worked in the chemical dependency unit. I worked in ICU. I worked in, you see, I worked everywhere, huh? ICU. And then I think that was about it. I would float to the other floor occasionally, like P's or surgical. But those are the units that I worked on.
So which one's your favorite?
I really like the psych because it was more when people would take their medicine, and not everybody needed medicine. They just needed somebody to talk to them and trying to help them and stuff like that. But because she had more one-on-one, more time with them. I didn't like the fact that I don't like the fact that you walk in a room and you're trying to back out the minute you go in, you know, because you got so many other patients to take care of. And they're at the hospital. The first reason why I kind of move around some for medical, because you'd get tied up in a isolation room and got to get blood, got to get feeding, and all your other patients out there, you have no idea what's going on. You're hoping the other tech or whoever the aide with you is kind of keeping an eye on them until you get out, or they could call you back in the room. Until you they need you, but it takes a while to get out of isolation stuff. You know, you gotta take your gown off and wash up, and take your mask off and wash up and stuff like that. It all depends on what you was doing. I just wish that one day that we all just I ain't gonna say get along, so like Rodney King. I just wish one day that we all can really, really feel like we're all treated the same. I really do. I mean, I don't try to mistreat anybody any different myself. I just want to feel like that you are just as important as the other person.
I'm just glad y'all came to hear my story and how busy y'all gotta go on. I got some more work to do.